What's up, guys? It's Parallax Abstraction, and this is Retro Flashback, showcasing gaming's roots for a new generation. It's been a while since we've done one of these. I know it has, and that's pretty much entirely on me, let's be frank about it here. But it is back, and I've got another collection of retro games on a modern system to show you. These are definitely becoming more and more popular. They seem to have had quite a resurgence in the last little while, which I'm pretty happy to see, actually. And this is actually a new collection. This is a one called Johnny Turbo's Arcade, and it is very much modeled after the Hamster-produced Arcade Archives series, which I've only covered one entry on before, but that is a collection that started on the PS4 and is kind of spread to a lot of other places. And this is very much an attempt to emulate that model, done by a California studio known as Flying Tiger Entertainment, that's actually been around for quite some time. I'd never heard of them before, but they have a fairly extensive resume. And they are selling a bunch of, at this time, Data East games piecemeal. We've got 3 of them here, which is Gate of Doom, Bad Dudes, and Sly Spy. Super Burger Time has also since been released, but I didn't get press code for that one. And they are very much, like I said, modeled after Arcade Archives, in the fact that they cost $8 a pop, and you buy the games piecemeal. So you're not buying a collection, you're buying the titles that you want. And as I said, right now they're all Data East games. We've talked about Data East before. They were a somewhat prolific developer in the 80s and early 90s for arcades and home systems. They also had a short-lived pinball division, but they went out of business in the early 2000s, and a Japanese mobile company known as Gmode now owns the majority of their stuff and have been licensing them out to some various different developers to do different things with. And yeah, so these games right now are only on the Switch. They have said that they are coming to basically everything else, including the PC, which is a place that Arcade Archives has not yet made it to. That is awesome. I'm very happy that that's happening. But right now they are only on the Switch, which frankly is, I think, a good place to start a collection like this off, because having retro games on, easily on the go or on your TV, good idea in my humble opinion. So what we're going to be doing today is, much like I do with a lot of these collections, we're going to do a single video and we're going to go through all 3 of these, but we're going to talk more about the wrapper surrounding the games rather than the games themselves. If I ever do videos on these games, they will be individualized to those games. But right now we're going to talk about this collection because some of these retro packages are better than others, let's just put it that way. And I want to show off what this one is to you guys so you can make an informed decision to decide if this is what you want to do. So we're going to go through each of these. 2 of these games are somewhat similar and one is not. So let's start with the classic that everybody knows, which is Bad Dudes. And I'm going to show you how this starts up here. So you get to pick your controller. I have a Pro controller hooked up, so that's what I'm going to use. But as you can see, it does work with the Joy-Cons. These games also have 2-player. All of them have 2-player, so 2-player options are available. Local only, no online, which is not uncommon. And you get this weird intro.
Johnny Turbo's Arcade presents Bad Dudes.
Yeah. I don't know if that's intentional or not. Apparently Johnny Turbo is the sort of pseudonym of the guy who founded Flying Tiger. And I don't know if that's some kind of in-joke or whatever, but it basically sounds like an intro was recorded on like kind of I guess a half-decent gaming headset, but I don't really know what the point of that was. It seems rather odd to me, but it gets the job done. So you get your control layout here. It does set it up in concert with the whatever controller you're using, which is nice. And all right, so you get into the demo mode here. It launches the ROM straight off, and you're seeing how it goes. So you can once again go back into your control mapping to see what it offers. You can also choose an aspect ratio, which is native 4:3, stretch, sort of anamorphically stretched 16:9, and just a fill option, which is kind of designed to stretch it out to whatever your aspect ratio is. Purists will, of course, want the original aspect ratio. That's what I'll show it here because I'm trying to show how accurately this reproduces the games. But you know what? I normally will play in the original aspect ratio too, but if you want the if you want the ratio stretch or whatever because you prefer it, hey, no judgment, whatever you like. They also have multiple screen styles. Now, you guys made it loud and clear from previous videos that While I am not a fan of things like scan lines, a lot of people are. And they've actually accommodated you pretty well here, I would say. So as you can see here, you've got none, which just does the game in as crisp a form as it can. You have multiple scan line options. So you have scan lines or scan lines round, which sort of gives you that actual curvature that you would have of an old school CRT television. Kind of cool. You have composite, which looks like hot garbage, which is frankly pretty accurate, but I don't know why you'd ever want to play this way. You've got RGB, which is the equivalent of if you were running like an RGB modded console. The equivalent of an S-Video, which has a little bit of color pop, which, yeah, I've seen that kind of thing. And then you have, I guess this is what they think would happen if you were running a console through an old school VCR. You know what? I don't want to play with any of these because I think they all look negatively worse, with the exception of maybe the base scanline mode. But you know what? Credit where credit's due. They did a really nice job emulating these things. As someone who has played with basically all of these video types before, and they frankly, in most cases, unless you're using very nice hardware, all kind of look like crap. And they did a very good job of making them look like crap. So, yeah, I will give them credit. They put some effort into that, and I think that's pretty cool. We're going to go with none because it will make it show up the nicest on YouTube, and frankly, that's how I like to play these. I just like them as crisp as possible. That's just my thing. So, that is basically it in terms of options. You're probably going to go, wow, that's pretty limited. And yes, compared to my absolute gold standard, which is the M2 developed Capcom arcade cabinet for the 360 and the PS3, this doesn't hold a candle to that. That said, that particular collection also went way overboard and included a bazillion options that 99% of people will never care about. This has a very narrow focus and is focused on the core stuff that most casual players would like, and I think on that they've done a pretty decent job, in my humble opinion. So, you know, your mileage may vary. You know, more visual options, I guess, would have been kind of nice, things like that, but aspect ratio and different visual styles, that's generally what most people want if they want to adjust anything at all. So you also have save states in this, which I'll get into. Sadly, well, I'll show you about that here. So, and as you can see, you have coin in buttons. These are just literally ROMs of the arcade game that you're playing. So you still got to coin up. These have not been modified in any way. Yes, good old President Ronnie. Let's go grab a burger. Oh wait, spoilers, I'm sorry. So, here you go. Now, so you have the games here, and obviously the next question is, how is the emulation quality? Well, I believe it's pretty good. I have compared these games, again, I don't have arcade boards for these games. I have compared them against MAME using totally legitimate ROMs that I absolutely own because I own the arcade boards as well. And I personally think these run pretty well. These older Data East, I believe at least the 3 games that I have access to right now all ran on the same Data East hardware platform. I know Bad Dudes and Sly Spy definitely did. So it's easier to do an emulation when you're not only emulating one, you know, the arcade, i.e. using one emulation core, but also when you're emulating the same hardware platform. It's pretty easy to do that. As I understand it, whoever this Johnny Turbo character is apparently quite a huge retro gamer. Actually, he's a huge TurboGrafx fan, which, word up, brother, I friggin' love me some Turbo. And he seems to be someone who is rather dedicated to doing these things right from an emulation perspective. So, are hardcore purists probably going to find things that are off? Most likely, yes, because emulation is never perfect. Again, this is not made for those people. If you are someone who cares that much about playing Bad Dudes 100% accurately, you probably have a cabinet or at the very least your own board. So, yeah, this may not be for you. For your casual player, I think it's fine. You know, is this like the Retrobit generations? Absolutely not. I think it's actually pretty solid emulation quality overall. Now, in terms of the games themselves, we're not going to talk about them very much, but, you know, quality is subjective, and I would say that some of these Data East games, like Bad Dudes was kind of famous in its day, I would say it has not aged very well. Data East made some cool stuff. They also made a lot of, frankly, pretty mediocre stuff. And I think I am one of those people who thinks even back in its day, Bad Dudes was not all that amazing. And it definitely hasn't aged very well. People have the name recognition as of this, which makes it an arcade classic. But in terms of a classic, in terms of gameplay, I'm not gonna, yeah, I don't know about that. And of course, because you have unlimited coins, you can absolutely cheese your way through this if you want. So yeah, that gives you the idea there. So yeah, so that's Bad Dudes. Let us quickly jump into Sly Spy. Sly Spy was a game more akin to Crime City. Yeah, I still have to say it that way. I don't know why. This is very much Data East's attempt at that kind of thing. Personally, of the three in the collection, I think this is the one I enjoy the most. Just because Sly Spy doesn't do it quite like Crime City, but you know. Also, you can see here that it's showing filled and whatnot. These collections will maintain your settings between runs. This is just how I chose to set this up last time when I was doing my research. But each game will maintain its own individual settings, which is kind of nice as well. You know, if you buy the game and you're like you like one game in stretched and another in native 4x3, you can set each one individually and it'll remember that. That's cool. So, all right, here we go. This was kind of neat. You got to enter your 00 number, if you will. So, and the game would actually kind of remember that. It was kind of cute. I'm not sure if there was any Easter eggs tied to that or not. I feel like there might have been, but I don't remember right now, if I'm honest with you. So, and here we go. This game actually, I think, was a little bit better in some ways than Crime City, because one of the things that it did that I thought was kind of cool is it had these little game mode variants. So you had this one here where you started the game off where you were dealing with guys, you know, sort of shoot 'em up style when you were, I mean the movie shoot 'em up. You were shooting guys down from the sky. It was kind of cool. There was a mission where you were on a motorcycle, things like that. While the ammo in this was very generous, you did have actual limited ammo. Also that American, well, I guess that American flag looked right if you were facing the other way, so it wasn't totally screwed up like that. But, and here you go. So again, this plays very much like Bad Dudes, except it's gun focused instead of melee focused, and that was basically that was really the idea behind it. Like I said, of the games that are available right now, I think this one is actually probably the most interesting. And this Data East hardware had a lot of voice in it, and at the time that was considered quite novel. They were not the first to do it, but perhaps to the degree that they did, that was very much an impressive Data East thing. And here you go, here's the vehicle level. So I talked before about save states. So yes, indeed, this does have that. The one thing that I think is kind of a bummer is it only has one. I don't know why. I don't know what could have stopped them from putting in more. I think that would have been a good idea to allow you to practice. You know, if you were, say, a speedrunner and you wanted to practice on a particular game, or you were someone who, you know, wanted to save at different points to show things off to people, or you were just practicing to do like a 1cc run and you wanted to be able to jump to different points to practice, I think that would have been very cool. When you hit the save state, it saves it wherever you are, and then when you go back to the main menu, you can hit continue. Goes immediately. Yeah, okay, cool, but I cannot, especially on modern hardware like this, I cannot see a technical limitation as to why it would lock you into only one save state. I mean, the NES and the Super NES Classic have multiple save states. I don't get it. I really don't get it. That's kind of a bummer. If there's one real fault I can find with this thing, it's that. Okay, yeah, if you're a hardcore speedrunner, you're probably playing this on an original board through a Super Gun or even through MAME or something. You're probably not going to buy a collection on the Switch, but maybe you would, you know, or maybe you want to practice on the go, and if the emulation in this is quality enough that you can do that. These are original ROMs, so if there's any weird skips or other things like that that you could use as a speedrunner, they're all theoretically still going to be there, right? So, and I mean, the Switch has, you know, I don't know if there actually is a fight stick available for the Switch right now, but there are things like 8-bit do game pads and things like that available, so you could use the level of, you know, higher end controllers that a speedrunner might want to use. So again, they could probably patch that in. I hope they do. I think limiting this to one save state was kind of lame, and I don't know why. I can't imagine the G mode made that demand of them as part of their licensing deal. That would make absolutely no sense to me. So, yeah. So that is Sly Spy. Now, Gate of Doom. This is not my favorite game in the collection, but it is the one that I would call the most interesting. This was an odd title that I had barely played before this collection came about, actually. And it's an isometric... How do I put it? It's kind of like a weird hybrid between Gauntlet and like one of those beat 'em ups like oh my god, like Knights of the Round or something like that, you know? It's odd, and it's kind of cool, but it's very clunky. And I'm going to show you what I mean here. So the way this works, now this is pretty cool. This is a game I would say you really would want to play in co-op more than anybody else. So it's got a little bit of a story to it. Surprisingly good English for Data East, especially given Bad Dudes. This is a cool game in that you've got four different classes: the Knight, the Wizard, the Bard, the Ninja, all of which play very, very different from each other. I tend to like either the Knight or this lady here. So here you go. So you see what I'm talking about? It's isometric. And it basically has only one button, which is an attack button. These kind of look like super attacks I'm doing, but basically it's her straight up attack. And it is... But I believe you're charging a super attack with that. You can see here, that sort of thing that I'm charging up there. And it's pretty much a brawler in most respects, I would say. You're going through here trying to take out all the enemies, and then you get to bosses, which are often, frankly, very, very challenging. There we go. We're almost, I think we're almost full up here. So yeah, there it is. So yeah, we're charging up her special ability, which apparently turns her into a chest that drops loot. Because that doesn't seem especially useful. Especially since she still takes damage while it's happening. So, okay, I hadn't actually seen her special move before, but sure. But it also looks like I'm picking up stuff like that. Now, because you see, the thing is, I don't really understand this game very well, and this is where this game also falls down, is that was the wrong button, is that there's no manual for this. One of the things I like about some of these collections is that they either have a screen that at least explains the core concepts of everything, other than just the control map that actually explains what you're doing and why you're there. Some collections even just have straight up play manuals in them to go, here's how you play the game, here's how it works. That's one thing I think a collection like Pinball Arcade does exceptionally well. They actually have lengthy tutorials on all of the tables in their packs and how they work. I think that's pretty cool. This doesn't have any of that. So I believe some of the items that I'm picking up there are actual power-ups, because you see they're going in the bottom left there, and when I attack, you see the glove flashing. So I believe those are power-ups that sort of boost your character's abilities. Again, I'm talking about the collection here, not the individual game, so if I'm coming across as rather ignorant of this, I apologize. I may actually do a full video on this game someday, because I think it's kind of interesting. And like I said, this is a fun game. The controls are weird because it is isometric, and it is very punishing and very cheap. I mean, it is an arcade game, but, you know, some Data East games were more well known for that. I would say this one's probably the most challenging of all the games in the pack as well. I think this would be the most fun if you were playing it with somebody else. I think this game is kind of really ideally suited for co-op. And as you can see there, obviously, it has loot as well, power-ups as well, as it does keep points. There is a scoring system in this because, again, arcade game. The scoring systems in Sly Spy and Bad Dudes are really nothing special. This one seems to be a little bit more advanced because it does have a lot of different stuff involved. And here's one of the boss fights. The boss fights in this are very challenging and, frankly, very, very cheap sometimes. You've got to really pay attention. The enemies have crazy hitboxes, and because this is in kind of an isometric 3D style, it's often difficult to tell, as you can see there, where you're going to get hit and where you're not. Not the biggest fan of that. Here we go. This game has a lot of voice in it as well. It's actually pretty terrible, but I actually find it rather enduring in that, or endearing, I should say, in that respect. How bad the voice samples in this, I think that actually adds to the game myself. So, is this a good package? Well, it's not a package because each game is individualized. Do I think it is worth it in value? Generally, yes. I still thought that the Arcade Archives collection was too expensive at $8 a pop for most of the games. I still think that. This is the same price. It has a similar amount of options. And so it is. They are somewhat on par in terms of their capabilities. Obviously, if you're playing on the PlayStation 4, you're not going to be. Well, maybe you will. I don't know. The PS4 version of this isn't out yet. Some people really like the Arcade Archive series because you could farm a bunch of unbelievably easy achievements or trophies out of them. I don't know if this is going to have that or not. I always thought the trophies in the Arcade Archive series were kind of lazy because they didn't it was just for clicking the options in the menu. They didn't tie them to the game or make you really feel like you were working for them or that you had to earn them. It would be nice if they did that with these. Obviously, this game is only out on the Switch, which doesn't have achievements or trophies, so I have no idea how that's going to end up working. But yeah, I still think $8 for old arcade games like this is too much money in general. As an enthusiast, I would pay it because that's the kind of person I am. And I guess it's a sweet spot, you know. If this was not drawing in casual players at that price, they probably would have dropped the price on these collections, and they haven't, so that to me means that people think it's worth that. And if that's the case, cool. I think you'll get a half-decent package out of this. So here's his special move. So you see, what's neat about these special moves is it's not a one and done. You can use it. Apparently he turns into a water jet, I guess. I don't know. But the nice thing about these special moves is that they're not a one shot and done. They actually last for a while. So while it takes you a while and you got to earn it, when you get it, you get something really worth your while, which is kind of cool. This game, as you can see, has branching paths as well, which is also nice. So, yeah, I think this collection could be worth it if you're interested in the games that are in it. The options are basic, but they are what most people would want. If you are a hardcore enthusiast who has access to emulators and or your own cabinet, I mean, this is probably not for you. It's also not built for you. You know, this is really not built for people like me. I will say having the ability to have some easy-to-access retro games on the go makes this much more appealing than it was on the PlayStation 4. This on the Switch and the PC, I could see being its two biggest selling points because the Switch is portable, and a collection like this will run on a potato, which means if you have a low-end laptop or a work computer, then you could have some retro gaming goodness at your disposal when you're playing on one of those systems. That would be very cool. And that is something, Arcade Archives does give you the ability to play on the Switch, but they don't have it on the PC. So I could see that actually adding a little bit of extra value. Having some cool retro games in multiple places, yeah, I can see that being worth it. But taste is, value taste is subjective, but I just wanted to make you guys aware of what you were getting for your $8. I still think they would probably be better selling these at, say, $5, but that's just me. Overall, though, yeah, the options are basic, but they do the job, and I feel the emulation is, at the very least, if not very good, at least solid. And that's really all you need out of a collection like this, in my humble opinion. Wow, that was really horrible timing. So, yeah, I'll probably take a look at more of these in the future. I do hope they get access to more publishers and not just Data East, because Data East games, a lot of them from this era have not aged particularly well, and a lot of them, frankly, in my opinion, weren't even that good at the time. So I don't know if they've necessarily partnered. There's a lot of good stuff in the Data East catalog, don't get me wrong, but I don't know that they have partnered with a publisher who maybe doesn't have quite as good a batting average as certain other ones do. If they could get access to, say, Konami's back catalog, that would be really cool, because Capcom Capcom is working with other companies now too. So yeah, if they could get a variance, I think that would be really good. If they could get themselves access to other licenses and get more stuff in here, and give people more options, which frankly Arcade Archives has done as well. I think that would be really cool. But it's nice to see more people doing this, and I think you can get a good amount of fun out of this. And you know what? Not having one publisher or one developer sort of dominate the space, I think, is a good thing. Competition's a good thing, and making these people fight for good licenses and fight to make their products higher quality than their competition, always a solid thing. Yeah, I will never decry that. So yeah, overall, this is pretty decent. If I didn't get press codes to these games, I would probably have bought at least Sly Spy and Gate of Doom. I don't know about Bad Dudes, because I was never the biggest Bad Dudes player, but possibly. But yeah, that is Johnny Turbo's Arcade, well, at least the first 3 releases. As I said, at time of recording, Super Burger Time is also out. We are playing on the Nintendo Switch. These games are $8 a pop. It is coming to the PlayStation 4, the Xbox One, and Steam later, according to the developer, so eventually you will have lots of different ways to play this. And yeah, maybe not the best value, but a pretty solid package overall, and yeah, one I think worth your time if you're into what's on offer. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you liked what you saw here, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. That does help me out a great deal. I also do live streams over on Mixer at mixer.com/pxabstraction, and don't forget to follow @pxabstraction on Twitter to find out about new stuff first.